Danny, Easter weekend ends with a point, and I don't think it's too harsh to say a pretty poor game of football.
It might be a little bit of an understatement. As I said, it was always judge the games by our own performances, and I think I wouldn't be the only one saying it. I think all the lads would agree. It seemed sort of at back end of the season sort of performance lacked a little bit of motivation and intensity, and I think we had a few changes, which is natural. When you're playing Saturday, Monday, and all I ask is for the lads that come in to sort of give me a decision to make. Really, ultimately, we've got 4 games left now. I think is it 4 games left now? Yeah, so we've got 4 left, and it's going to be competitions for places, and we want to try and do well in every game we can. But like you said, it was probably one not to remember, really.
And what do you think that's mostly down to? Is that just a congestion, 2 games in 2 days, or is it maybe a little bit of complacency coming to a team that's already relegated?
I think it can be a number of things. Like I said, we went from a 4-2-3-1 to a 4-4-2, so that may have a little part in it. Like I said, we changed a few bodies, which again can disrupt things. But the lads that we've brought in have been training. They understand what we expect, what we want to try and do, the patterns we try and put into play. But I don't think we showed any of that today, which is a disappointment from our side. But you're going to have days like this. I said the only positive you can take out of it is we went 1-0 up and probably nowhere near the standards we want to get to, and we end up with a point away from home. So that's the only thing we can take out of it.
Yeah, and you mentioned positive there, Charlie Garspool getting his first goal for the club. How would you judge his time at the club so far?
I think he's improving week on week. He's a good lad. He wants to improve. He wants to work hard in training. It's nice for him to get a goal. I think it's a great header and a good delivery from Henry. And that's probably one of the only highlights we had in the game, if I'm being truthful. We built another couple of times like we have done in recent weeks. But, like we said, you can blame it on a number of things. But ultimately, I think today is one of them poor showings where you want to sort of forget. And you have to analyse it, whether it's good or bad. We have to analyse it, sort of take a few things out of it. And from our side, if we're here next year, we have to make decisions on players. So you're analysing, can they play it in games like that? Changing formation, can they take information on board? Yeah, and we've got a few answers ourselves, and we just got to hopefully be better next week.
Yeah, so the game's coming up. You've got Rains Park Vale and Egham, who most likely won't have anything to play for going into those games. So how do you contest against that end of season feeling around the club?
Again, I think it's more about us. I've said to you on numerous occasions, within an interview, it wasn't good enough, and that's what I'm going to judge us from next week. We need to have a decent week's training, recover from the Saturday, Monday, and go again and make sure that in possession we're better. Even out of possession, we're a little bit sloppy. I've said to the lads, when they do well, I'll praise them. When we weren't so good, it's kind of one of them where we have to be better. It's our own standards. I get it's the end of the season. I get that we've been playing on a lovely 3G, and now you come and play on a pitch. I think the pitch is a little bit deceiving. It's quite bobbly, so it's hard to play. I think at times we probably put ourselves in trouble, should we say, in terms of our choice of pass and our execution of the pass. But that's going to happen. So again, it's can't really sort of use that as an excuse. But like I said, ultimately, it's all got to try and be better next week and try and get 3 points as we're at home. And like I said, anyone that comes to our home patch, we want to make sure it's a tough test for them and try and keep the run going.
Just lastly, there's a few rumours circling about Dan Lincoln's future. Obviously, Conor McDermott's been around the club as well. Can you shed some light on that?
Dan, he's been a great servant to the club, and he come in and during the season before my time, and he come and helped Jamie. He's got some stuff going on, so. That will probably be the last we'll see of Dan for the season. We wish him all the best, and we thank him for what he's done. He's been superb. He's a great goalkeeper. It's great to have around the place. And I think it's probably next season. Could we try and keep him? I would say probably not. If I'm just being brutally honest, because like I say, he probably wants to play higher. If I'm being brutally honest, but at the end of the day, it doesn't mean we won't try. But again, it'll be a few weeks where we have conversations and go from there.